Okay, welcome back everybody. It's Mr. Stoltz speaking. Today's topic is going to be HLookup. But first, before we start the HLookup, we're quickly going through the answers of the database I gave you guys on Thursday, and then we'll start working on the HLookup. Just a quick rundown of what a VLOOKUP again, just so we can go through it. So if you all can hear me very loud, just say something to the chat. I'm going to start sending the file in so you can start downloading it while I'm speaking. If you can't get it downloaded, just send me a message and I'll add it again. Okay, so as always, Google form, feedback at the end of the session. I'm adding a few more topics there so you guys can choose some of the topics we can do from later on this week. And I'm going to be with you guys until the end of the month. So if you guys go back to school, 3 o'clock in the afternoons, we'll still be here if you want to join us after school. African Teen Geek on YouTube. You've got all those videos there, free ebooks, the Mahalo.ms for 3 Office 365, and then education.gov for all exam papers. So you can work through those if you want to. Okay, so we're going to start with today's lesson. But before it, Class Dojo scores from the previous weeks and so on. Good day, Carl. Attending classes and so on and so forth. We've got people getting ranked up points. You can clearly see who's the guys coming every single day. So thank you for being here. Okay, so this was the first one, the query 4.3. So they asked they want the mobile network company that sponsors the athletes. They are using cell C numbers. So they are saying cell C numbers are starting with 084. And then they want, because of the significant number of participants, the organizers have decided all the males between 20 and 30, that's the category. So there's all your criteria. And it says modify the query. So first of all, you had to add the gender and the age. And then you had to say gender must be male because you want all the males. And then the age we had 20 to 30. So it's between 20 and 30. And we had to untick those because they only want to display athletes and a cell phone number. And to get the cell phone number, we had to say 084 because that's what we want, and asterisk sign because it can follow anything after 084. So, and the last thing we had to do, the athletes' names, we had to be in ascending order, and that gave us our full 5 marks. So if you look at how the query would have looked, we've gotten the 3 names, all their cell phone numbers, and those guys are the people qualifying for 3 network. Okay, so as next, this was an easy one. We had to modify the query 4.4, to display the total number of money paid by the athletes. And this is a 3 marks one. So we had the province and registration fee they gave us. Province, we had to change to Zim to get the Zim athletes. And then we had to say totals. We had to add the totals and say sum to get the total. So 3 marks, 1 for Zim, 1 for sum, and either 1 for displaying the total or for displaying the 2 fields. Okay, so this is how it would have looked. Province or nationality, we wanted Zim, and the sum of the registration fee is 6130. Okay, query 4.5, where they say the organizers received a lot of money from sponsorships and they've decided to give money back to the community. And this is the type of question that's the higher order question in the queries, and you'll definitely get one of these at the end of the year in the exam. So we want each athlete must be refunded $100 plus 10% of their registration fee that she already paid. Okay, so create and display a calculated field called refund. So that's, we had the refund of the double points there, and we had 100 for the 100 Rand they're getting back for free, the $100 plus 10%, 0.1 times the registration fee. Okay, and remember the block caps. So we've got registration fee times 0.1. So if we've got 451, 10% is $45. So there's the 45 plus the 100 gives us the 1 45. So those are the three. I hope you guys got it correctly there, and you can tell me later in the Google form if I have to go through those again, if need to be. Okay, so we're moving over to HLookup. Did everybody get the file? We are almost going to start with it. I'm just going to add this one more time. Okay, so HLookup, that's the exact same as VLOOKUP, except for it's looking horizontally, where VLOOKUP is looking vertically. Okay, so looks for a value in the top row of the table array of a value and returns to the value of the same column from the row you specified. So the lookup value is the value to be found in the first row of the table and can be a value, a reference, or a string. So exactly the same as VLOOKUP. So I'm going through this. So it's HLookup. It's a lookup value table array, and except this is row. And we've got a range lookup where we can say which range. Must it be exact or can it be not? Okay, so what we're looking for, where's the table we're looking in, where's the row of the answer, and is it exact or not? Okay, so if we jump over to this, I'm just going to quickly show the VLOOKUP. And this is how you determine if it's VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. VLOOKUP works vertically with what you're looking for in row 1 or column 1. So if the headings, it doesn't always have to be heading, but if the headings are horizontally, you're looking for VLOOKUP. We're working vertically. So rather use what we know, what's the data. So if your data is standing vertically underneath each other, we are using VLOOKUP. And if it's horizontally, we are using HLOOKUP. So depending on how your table is set up, it will determine if you're using VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. So just remember the V is for vertical, and it's vertically what we're looking for, and horizontal for horizontally what we are looking for. Okay, so it's determined by the first row of answers and not by the headings. Okay, then we're going to jump into the questions, and you'll see the questions I gave you guys. Which one, Lesedi? The vertical one or one back? Okay, let's just give it a minute. Okay, so VLOOKUP is when it's vertically, we're working with the first answers, and HLOOKUP is horizontally, we're working with horizontal answers. Okay, so that's the easiest to determine when it's VLOOKUP and when it's horizontal lookup. Okay, so heading lookup, or can call it anything, as long as you can remember HLOOKUP is for horizontal and V is for vertical. Okay, so it's the exact same as if we go back to, it's the exact same as the VLOOKUP. The only difference is this is a V instead of an H, and this is row instead of column. Okay, so we're working with the row. So if you can open your document I gave you, you'll see we're working with the same document as we've worked on the VLOOKUP one. This time we've only got 4 questions we're going to work with, and you'll clearly see there where's the difference in. Okay, so I'm just going to jump over. Okay, so firstly, we are working in 1A, same as last time, and it says use an appropriate lookup function in cell J3 to display the award that the person will receive based on a score in cell H3. Okay, use the data and awards worksheet. So if we go, I jump over to my Excel. You've got this open, and we're going to work with 1A. So in 1A, in J3. We're working here, and we want to see what award this person is getting. Okay, so if I go to 1B, I will see how it works. So score, award, description, and this is how it's determined. It's horizontal, so it changes to HLookup. If I copy this and I paste this by doing a transpose, it will show you how it would have looked if it was VLOOKUP. So this is the difference between the two, because the answers are horizontally for HLOOKUP and vertically for VLOOKUP. So that's the biggest difference between the two. So it's exact same function, exact same steps. It's just according to how your table looks, it's going to change from a VLOOKUP to an HLOOKUP. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to delete this now. So it's not a VLOOKUP table. We're working with an horizontal table. Okay, so if I go back to 1A and we're working in J3, and we can go there equals, and we go HLOOKUP, and it looks for the lookup value. So your lookup value is by the full name. Okay, we want the full name, but we cannot use the full name because the full name is not in the table. We need to see this person's score. Okay, so this is your lookup value. We are looking at the score. Okay, table array. So after you've said H3, you do the semicolon, you go to 1B, and you highlight the table. So exact same as with VLOOKUP as well. You can highlight everything. You do not need to highlight the headings. You can just highlight the answers, and it will say there, this is where I'm working. F4, because we need to use an absolute cell reference. Otherwise, if we drag it down, this table is going to drag down, exact same as last time. And before we do anything else, we need to say semicolon again, so we can lock this. Otherwise, if we jump between 1A and 1B, or between the water slide and let's say data, this is going to change. So it's the exact same again. This is the worksheet name. So we are working in 1B. So my worksheet name is 1B. This is the table array. So this is where I can find my table. And I'd lock it so it doesn't move around. Okay, row index number. So what do we want as an answer? Do we want the award they want, description, or what do we want? So this is now 1. So we're working 1, 2, 3. But if it was, the table was this would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so depending on where it is, we are working with it. Okay, so we want the answer, which type of award they're getting. So it's not 1, it's 2. Okay, so row index number is 2. We get your semicolon, and it says exact match. It can't be because we're jumping from 0 to 100, 150, 200, or so on. So it must be an appropriate match. So it's true. So either double click or type in the word true. You can lock it, and you can press enter. Okay, so if I press enter there, just going to go here quickly. So it's HLOOKUP. We are looking for H3. Where must I go look? In 1B, and I've drawn it in this segment. We're looking for the answer, it's 2, and it must be appropriate and not exact. So this person is getting silver, and if I drag this down, everybody's getting an award. And if I go to the bottom one, normally just go to the bottom one. And if you double click there, you'll see everything is still working. So it's correct, and you've got the answer. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, well done there, Carl. You're getting this. I know, Lesedi, you're struggling with the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Did you get this one?
Ek
Just
het nooit
start
weer
there,
in hierdie klas.
and then we will go on. Okay, so that was the first one. And we've got the silver and everything there. And we can go jump back to our questions on the PowerPoint.
Ek weet nie of ek
Okay,
hier graad 12 is. Hulle is nie
let's
in 'n
go to the
geval
new
het nie. Hulle gaan
point.
dit skool toe volgende week nie.
Just hold this. The mute. Okay. Okay, yes, there. Thank you, Lesedi. Okay, so now we can go on. The second one, the thread status is stored in column G, and we use a lookup function in cell F3 and a data in the code worksheet to determine the thread status of each of the species. Based on the thread status in column G, display in one of the abbreviations, for example, EN, and a function must work correctly if copied down. So you see it's the exact same. It doesn't say V or H. That's a lookup. So if we go back to our Excel, you're going to determine it by not by the spreadsheet where your answer has to be, but by the spreadsheet where your table is. Okay, so there's it again. We've got the answers this way around. So it is horizontal. So we're working with an HLOOKUP. Okay, exact same again. The previous one we did last week, it was this way around. So that's why we used VLOOKUP, because it went down vertically. Okay, so this time it's horizontally, and we're using the HLOOKUP. Okay, so let's go back to 2.2a, and we're working here in 4.4, and we go equals, it's HLOOKUP. Lookup value, what are we looking for? We need to see to determine a thread state of the species based on the thread status. So this is the thread status. So whatever is written there, and we go semicolon or comma, depending on your device. Where's my table array? Where must I go? To B, and I highlight this. So there's my sheet name. This is my table. And this time, this is not a heading. This is actually the data, because this is what we're looking for. F4 to absolute salad. And we go semicolon, so we can lock the cell. So we've locked table array, so we can jump around if we do wish to. Okay, row index, we want this to show. So it's 1, 2. So because we've only highlighted this, we're not going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to count 3 and 4. Okay, so it's 1 and 2. And this time, what are we looking for? We are looking for an exact match, because this is standing there. We've got the exact words, and we can lock this. Okay, now sometimes doing it false or true, it doesn't really matter. But for most of the points, always try and get the most correct one, because normally you'll get points for that as well. Okay, so least threatened is LT. So if I drag this down just to check, we can see EN for endangered, VU for vulnerable, endangered. So we know we are correct. So you can undo, and you've got this. So what we were looking for, where is it? Which number is the column or the row this time, because we're working with H. So which row are we working with? And is it true or false? Okay, let's jump back. Okay, so the last two, we've only got 4 for today, because it's sort of repeated on the VLOOKUP. Just because it's transposed, it just changes your formula. Okay, so question 3, the different storage types of the songs are stored in the code worksheet, and a lookup function in cell F2 in the music worksheet is determined the song's storage type. Okay, so the storage code is stored in column A. Okay, so I've changed this, so it's just in 3B. So copy this function and display it. So let's jump back to the Excel. And we will see. Okay, so 3A, we are working in this question. So we want to see the code, and it has to say what type of it. So if I go to 3B, it's down here at the bottom. So we are looking for the code, and we want the type to display. So it's the exact same. It's equals, it's HLookup. So HLookup, lookup value, we want to look up for the code. So we're clicking on the code and you do semicolon or comma. And it says table array. So where's my table? My table is in 3B. And I highlight my table and absolute cell by pressing F4. And you lock it by doing the semicolon. So again, 3B, I am in the correct worksheet. F7 to F8, so I've got the correct area. Remember, we do not do the headings. We skip the headings, we do the rest. It asks for a row index, so it's not 1, 2. The answer is in row 2. Semicolon is an exact match, appropriate match. It's an exact match. Okay, so it's false, and we lock it. Okay, so HLookup, we look what we're looking for, where are we looking, which row it is in, and if it's true or false, exact or not exact. Okay, so the 3 is MP3. So if I drag this down, you will see 2 is DVD, 1 CD, 3 MP3, check a few, and you just drag it down all the way to the bottom, and you'll get your marks. Okay, so this question is 5 marks, so 1 for 1 here, second mark, third mark. And sometimes they do give marks for this, sometimes they don't. And sometimes they give a mark for because you've used HLookup and not VLOOKUP. And the other time you just get it for dragging down. So for instance, this one, because they said drag it down, you will get this sort. Okay, so you'll definitely get a mark there for this one. Okay, and then we're going to question number 4. Okay, question number 4 is air quality. Description based on the annual average, the reading, which is found in column B. Okay, use an appropriate lookup function in cell C18 to determine the air quality. And then it says, take note of the orientation of the data in the worksheet. Okay, so they are giving you, reminding you to see if it's an HLookup or an VLOOKUP. Okay, so just to take note, they say there. Okay, if we jump back, we're going to question number 4A. And we are here, and we are looking at the annual average they are doing by air pollution. Okay, so we're looking at this. And if we go to the worksheet, where is it? So it's horizontal again. So we are working with HLookup. Okay, so HLookup, how is it? And we jump back. Okay, equals HLookup. Okay, the lookup value, we are looking for the annual. So it's this one. Semicolon, table array. Where's my table? So it's 4B. So this is my table. F4 for absolute cell and lock. And then you go back to C. I'm in the correct worksheet. I've got it correct. It's C6 to H7. It is locked by using absolute cell reference. You've got your full marks there. Row index number, row 1, row 2 is an appropriate or exact match. So it's not exact because we're jumping. and it is an appropriate match. Okay, so this is true. You lock it and you press enter. Okay, so it's moderate. So 98, so go up, it's not there, it's moderate, so it's fine. And we can drag it just to see if it works. If I go to 13, it says good. If I go back to 4B, 13, it's good. So it's staying there. And we know we've done this correctly. Okay, is there any questions on the VLOOKUP or the HLOOKUP? Okay, do you guys clearly understand the difference between the two? So just one more time, just to make 100% sure. VLOOKUP is when your answers of the code you're looking for. So that would be the lookup value. So if the lookup value is vertically underneath each other, you're using VLOOKUP. And if the lookup value is horizontally next to each other, you are using HLOOKUP. Okay, so that's the difference between when you use VLOOKUP and when you use HLOOKUP. And then you'll easily get, because it's 4 questions, you give the 4 answers, and you just need to remember to lock your table array, use your absolute cell reference, and don't jump in between worksheets when you're using your table array, and you will be good. You'll be good to go. Okay, so after this, yes, but you can do this. Before we go there, let me jump back. There is a way to change it, but when you do an exam or a test, you'll never change it. Okay, you can only change it when you are working in a company, maybe one day, or you're working at home, because the test is written to give you the answer for HLOOKUP. So if you go and you highlight these from B6 to H7, and you right click on it, it gives the pop-up there, and you can go and say copy, or you can say cut if you want to. And if I go down here and I go right click, you've got paste. Now paste has all these options. Now this is the normal paste, and this is if you just want the values, so it takes away all the functions. This is one if you're just pasting the formulas, and then you've got this one transpose. Now transposes between vertically and horizontally. So you can use the transpose paste, or when you copy it, you can paste it with transpose, and then you would have been using VLOOKUP. So this would have been a VLOOKUP table, and this is an HLOOKUP table. So yes, you can copy and paste it and change it, but they will not mark it correctly if you've done this. Okay, because they wanted you to do the HLOOKUP. But if you understand how to do HLOOKUP, you will most probably understand how to do VLOOKUP and vice versa. Okay. Sometimes they can. They'll say you must use a VLOOKUP, and they give it to you like this. So let's say use a VLOOKUP to answer the following question, but then that question would have counted 6 marks. You'll get an extra mark for copying and pasting it. Okay, so that's a very high order question. They've asked it one time what that I know of, I can think of now, but normally they don't do that. Okay, the Excel is already hard enough, so unless they haven't asked any other hard questions of sum ifs or nested ifs or count ifs or any of those harder questions or concatenate or so on, if they didn't ask any of those, they might ask you to do this copy and paste the transpose by using the copy and right click and using the transpose one. Unless they haven't asked any other hard questions, they will maybe ask this one. But normally there's enough hard questions in Excel. Okay, so just transpose and it would be there, and you can do the exact same going back. If it was this and I wanted an HLookup, you can just right click copy and right click transpose, and it will change it to an HLookup table. Okay, so is there any other questions on the VLOOKUP and the HLookup? I do believe this gives you quite a clear copy. So if you understand one normally, you'll understand both. That's quite easy 4 or 5 marks in the exam paper, as long as you can remember those few steps. Okay, then I'm going to jump over back to my new share, and we've done these. We still can do some of these topics. These are the topics left. And I'm going to quickly copy and paste this for you guys. So you can follow this and you can enter it. You can go there and you can answer the paper there on the forms, or you can just go there and you can tell me what you want to do. So you can tell me Excel, what you want to do, round dates or text, Word, track changes, bookmarks, mail merges, HTML, Access. You want to go for work further on Access. As I said, we are going to be until the end of the month, at least. And there is thoughts of extending this until the end of the year, maybe, because a lot of people not going back to school. So if you do go back to school, you can always join afterwards if you maybe make it home before 3. So there's the topics what you can do if you want to suggest topics. Tomorrow, we are going to do system technologies. So we're going to do a little bit of theory. And we might have a little small questionnaire at the end. So we've got a theory, system technologies. But for the rest of the week, we can end off if you want to do something else. Or otherwise, we will start going through the top, and I'll work through this as well. So we'll go spreadsheets as well. As long as we're in Excel, we'll go to round functions, date, and text functions. I know you've done some of this before with the previous teachers that was on here. So if you want to skip some of those, just let me know. Okay, so we're coming to an end of this session almost, as we do not have a lot of time left, and I want you guys to answer there for me. So I'm going to have to say, have a great day. Remember to stay safe, guys. It was a very short lesson, so tomorrow we're going to work a little bit on new work. It's a pleasure, Carl. Thank you guys for being here, and all those for being here every single day. And from tomorrow, we will work on something new. So let us know. We're going to do some theory tomorrow. And then after that, we'll see where it takes us. So just take a few minutes, answer the form. Nobody knows who've answered it, not even me. So do any suggestions there. Thanks a lot, guys, and have a nice day. And good luck with your week.